Good morning, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt with Illinois WorkNet. I am going to be starting our webinar. I would just like to let you know that if you have not already answered our survey on the main screen, we would appreciate you doing that. We're thinking about adding a section on our main page to direct people to a specific spot without having to go through the menu. So if you could answer that, it would give us some feedback so that we can just work on that for the website. If you have not already downloaded the handouts that are in the file pod below the chat, you can do that right now. Sorry, my mouse just flew around. And we will get started with our presentation. Let's move this pod out of the way. Great tool on Illinois WorkNet, and it's a career planning tool that you can use to help you with making your career plan and your job search plan. So we are going to meet Shanae. Shanae is a 16-year-old who is just embarking into the workforce. She wants to start working so she can earn some money to pay for clothes and music and her cell phone and all those things that teenage girls, well, actually teenage kids, want. Shanae discovered the Employment 101 guide that helped her create a career plan and examine some of those things that we're going to show you in this webinar. Remember Jim, the job seeker, from a couple of our webinars recently? He was laid off from his previous job. He just wants to change careers to a new, high-demand, growing field. When Jim started with Illinois WorkNet, he found the Employment 101 guide and reviewed the items within the guide to help him determine a brand new career path in one of those high-demand industries that he had been looking at. So here's what they both discovered. They found out that they could learn about career planning, searching for a job, and skills to succeed in the workplace. All great tools that you need to make sure that you're making the right decision. They could prepare a career plan as well as a job search plan. And we're going to go over the parts of the career plan when we go live. There were resources in the guide to help them prepare each of their plans and help them complete the post-assessment. And as they progressed through the guide, they could see how their overall progress was going. They marked sections complete as they finished them. They followed the recommended steps for each of the sections, and it shows you what the units and or modules are. And then they were able to access their plan at any time. Within the modules and resources, it included information like accessing all of these resources like the Skills and Interest Survey, the Resume Builder, career wages and trends information, blog articles, and videos that explained much of the information. They were able to follow their plan. Shanae and Jim both created an individualized plan to help them follow the different steps that they set up so that they could achieve their goal, and that was to get into the workforce and get into a new career path. So it can be done for anybody at any phase in their work. So when Shanae was finished with her plan, she took a post-assessment test and scored a 92%. Jim took his test and scored 100%. That could be because Jim had some work experience to rely on to answer some of the questions, and it may be that he found out something that he didn't know while he was doing some of his modules. Both Shanae and Jim were able to print out a certificate of completion that they could put in their portfolio so that they could share that with potential employers when they were going for an interview. So want to see how they did it? We're going to show you in just a moment. What I would like to let you know is that we have a question and answer pod, and we're going to um, ask you to put your questions into the pod so that you can see the answers that come directly to your question. And I'm working on getting my screen share going. Now, if you need to see this bigger, I'm going to make this screen a little bit bigger right now to magnify it here so that it looks a little bit better. If you need to see this bigger, all you have to do is press the 4 arrow icon at the top of the screen to make your screen share bigger so that you can see it better on your computer. Now, on Employment 101, it's in this first menu under Explore Careers on Illinois WorkNet, and that would be www.illinoisworknet.com. Go to the Employment 101, and you end up on this page where we have this PowerPoint presentation that happens to be in the file pod at the bottom of the lower left-hand corner of your screen. We talk about the different components that are included in Employment 101 and the related resources and planning tools that you can use within the tool. To access Employment 101, all you have to do is log in to your Illinois WorkNet account. So I'm going to do that right now so that you can see how we actually log in. At the top right-hand corner of your screen, by where the translation screen is, there's an area where you can either log in or sign up. Since I already have an Illinois WorkNet account, I'm going to log in. But to sign up, it's just a few simple steps, and you can create your very own Illinois WorkNet account so that you can save information for future reference that you find on Illinois WorkNet, or to participate in tools like the Optimal Resume Builder or the Employment 101. So as we're waiting for my screen to come live, we're going to go to, after you're logged in, you go to My Dashboard. The other handout in the file pod below the Q&A is for the directions that I just did to get you to Employment 101. So if we go to Employment 101, all we have to do is click on the link right here, and it will take you to the dashboard area that we saw in one of the first screens. We're thinking here a little bit, so give my computer just a second. This is the Employment 101 guide. It shows us about the pre-assessment test, and you can take it. There's only 25 questions. It's a good test to let you know what you don't know. Then we can go to the guide. Once you're done with all of the components on the guide, you can take your post-assessment test, which is that same 25 questions. And it tells me that I scored 92% on my post-assessment, and then I can get my certificate of completion. Well, let's take a look at the guide, the Employment 101 guide. And as you can see, I've checked off quite a few of the items already. I have completed 7 of 8 items, but I'm going to show you what each of those items are. When we are in the tool, we can see my overall progress and view my plans. So if I look at the View My Plans, we can see what I have researched for different career opportunities. It has my career research, and it goes across the board. My screen is so big I have to scroll down. I apologize for that. But what it does is it's the information that you've entered for each of industry, and then it gives you the associated education. Let me show you how I got there with that. And again, I have to scroll to the bottom, sorry, to get to, it's because I've got my screen view so big so that everybody can see. So I'm going to go back to the guide. And as we look, we have prepare a career plan. And as we click into here, we have 3 sections that has exploring careers, explore training, or get qualified. I'm going to start with the explore careers. As we look at this section, on the right-hand side, we see a box here that has information that helps you start to build your career plan. When we look at the first area, we have discover careers that match your interests. You can read about an article that's what you should know when selecting your career path. We can take a career cluster inventory that will open up in a new tab. And then I can use those career paths to explore careers for the next step. Then as I am exploring careers, we can take a look, and we have done a webinar on these areas, the Illinois pathways and the demand occupations. So you can take a look at each of these, review back to the menu of our archived videos to watch this particular video about the demand occupations and the Illinois pathways. Then what you can do is click View My Plans to see what you have added back in there. When I go back to the guide, we can then, I missed a step here in the Explore Careers, you can identify the soft skills that are required for all careers. And we can see what kind of soft skills might be required. We can also visit the job skills guide that talks about the different kind of job skills that are associated with the opportunities, either academic, technical, or soft skills or workplace skills. And you can review all of those. And it will take you, if I click this link, it will take you directly to that page. We also have a webinar recorded on that guide as well. And then we can identify technical skills, transferable skills, and personal beliefs. So when you are looking to identify your technical or transferable skills, you can look at the optimal skills assessment tools, or you can look at our own page on the career and interest survey to make sure that you're getting the assessment correct on your optimal skills assessment tool. You can also read the article on the technical skills. You can review an article that will help you with your personal beliefs, and you can use the information about your skills to help you pick which jobs you like or don't like. Also, we have links to videos that you can watch as you're going along. As you're building all of this information, you can see on the side over here where I have reviewed a number of different careers that will help me with the career. As I check off each of these items as being done, then that will give us our completed area where it says completed 4 of 4 items. All right. And before we move on to the next step, let's look to see if there is anything that we need to answer. It says, can you define the word match and qualified? Match would be skills that might be a good match for your interests, meaning if you have an art interest, it might be that you want to focus on a career maybe in graphic design or building sets for a theater. And then qualified, I'm not quite sure what that question is from. Looking at qualified means that you have the qualifications that match those skills or interests for that. And we also have another question about, can you define the word wage? And wage is what you get paid for a job that you do. Okay, let's move on to the next section, which is in our plan, and it's prepare a career plan. What I want to do is I want to go back to the guide and show you here where we can explore training. So we already explored careers. Now we want to explore training. And when we're looking at training opportunities, we have all of the items here. Learn about comparing training programs, pros and cons. How long will it take you? How much does it cost? What are the job potentials when you're done with that training? So we have articles about the decision-making process that you need to follow. And how can you make informed student loan decisions? Because you can't go to school for free in most cases. You do need to pay for some things. Well, where is that money going to come from? And how are you going to support yourself while you are in training? So you want to make sure that you take a look at all of these different items. Consider the factors and identify the pros and cons for each of the training programs. Watch the video below. Next, we want to identify training programs, and what this does is it opens up the tool that we have on the Illinois training program guide that will help you stay within the program, but you can also watch the video that we've already recorded on the training program tool that we have. So if I want to type in a keyword for carpenter, apprentice carpenter, we can also take a look for any schools or training that might be within, let's say, within 50 miles. And I'm going to put a zip code in here, and I can do search. So if there's a program available, we have one at the Kennedy King College, which is in Chicago, Illinois. That would give me an idea of where I might want to participate in one of those training programs. Last in this section is to analyze your options. And as we look at this, we'll say, oh, what's the real deal? We talked about how long is it going to take you? How much do you have to invest in your time and money? Are there qualified job openings? So this takes you through each of those steps. And are you willing to make that investment? It means it's a good match. If you're not sure, you need to think about it a little bit more, maybe find out a little bit more. That's what you need to do. And if the answers to all of your questions came up with a bad result, then that's how you need to look at that potential training idea. Once you're done with all of those sections, you can go back to your guide and go on to the next step, which is called Get Qualified. Again, we have gone through some of these individual items earlier. What we want to do here is make a SMART goal, and you can read an article on what comes up for making SMART goals, and SMART stands each for a letter in those goals. I'm going to make you read the article so that you can find out what they all stand for. How do you stay motivated? How do you overcome obstacles? How do you apply for financial aid and programs? How do you apply for those programs? Training and earn credentials. So if you want to, you are more than welcome to come through and do this tool so that you can create your own SMART plan. Oh, and there's a cheat. It's right there on the side. It tells you what each of those items are. And what you can do is you can fill out what your goals need to be and help you stay on track. Now, I could be just clicking next, but I want you to see the plan. When we prepare a job search plan, which is the next step, we get prepared. How do you get prepared for a job search? Well, first of all, you have to get organized. And here's an article that you can read about the 9 steps of your job search. And what do you need to create a job search plan? Do you have all of these documents available for your job search? If you don't, you're missing some things that could help, that could prevent you from getting a job. And as we had a question before the webinar began, how does Illinois WorkNet help you? Well, they can help you make sure that you can obtain all of these documents, have them in a portfolio, and make sure that you have all of those things with you ready to go when you go on an interview. We have the optimal assessments again, and this is part of the Illinois WorkNet Resume Builder tool. Prepare your resume. What are the steps involved? You need to pick a resume style. You need to look at the resume builder. We initially started this program for the summer youth program last year, but we've discovered the invaluable capabilities of it for those changing careers as well. So not only do we have youth resume examples, but we have other resume examples in our system. You want to customize your resume. So we talk about customizing them. We talk about how important keywords are. We talk about how important an action verb is and how you can use the optimal resume building tool. We've got a resume checklist. How do you share or distribute your resume to potential employers? And how do you share it through the optimal resume builder? And again, a couple of videos that you can watch that will give you some information for your resume. Now, you want to prepare a portfolio. What are the steps in there? And what do you want to put in a portfolio? These items are all addressed in the articles or the resources that are interactive on the tool. And as you see to the right-hand side, as I switch from area to area, the career plan gives me some places to input information. So from the Resume Builder tool, you can take the link to your portfolio and just add it right here in this box to save the changes. Now, what about your plan? Again, we're talking about the SMART plan. How do you stay motivated, and how do you overcome the obstacles? Because each part of your job search comes with a motivation factor and a set of obstacles. So again, we're looking at the SMART goals that you can make for each of these areas. I'm done with each of the sections. I check them off. I go back to my guide, and I see where I am done with the Get Prepared. I want to look at Find Jobs. What are you going to do? Are you going to network? So it gives you some tips here. Does everybody, show of hands, everybody in the audience, do you have a 30-second elevator speech? Just raise your hand with the little man at the top of the screen. Let me see if you've got one. Who's got one? Come on. Who's got a 30-second elevator speech? Do you have a 10-second elevator speech? All right, if you don't, you need to use this tool to help yourself create a 30-second elevator speech. It's what you say to somebody if you were going to just ride in an elevator and you only had 30 seconds to tell them about you. How can you network virtually? Well, we all know that social media is probably the biggest virtual network that you can participate within. So that's what you want to do. And what are those opportunities all around you? I believe there's an article that we have that is called an accidental interview. A woman was sitting in her dentist chair. They had a conversation, and he knew somebody who needed somebody with her skills. So always be on the lookout and always present your best face when you are talking to anyone. We have a webinar that we recorded on elevator speech, the Illinois WorkNet LinkedIn webinar, and mind you, LinkedIn changes almost every day, so you got to stay in there and with it. How are you going to search for job openings? We have a whole lot of information here. We've got on the right-hand side, you can see what your job search plan is associated with this. You had an interview with the Archer Daniels Midland area. You're still waiting for an answer. You want to edit. So take a look at what's going on with Indeed. We had a webinar that included the Indeed job search, so look for that recording. We had a webinar that focused on job postings in social media, so look for that recording. Go to the company and also go to the page where all of our handouts are for that. It's under Network and Connect. Go to a company and trade association website and look, and we can go to an example website here. Look for job postings in newspaper, business windows, or flyers posted on job boards. Now, when you apply for a job, we have some tips for you there as well. Make sure your information is complete and accurate. Don't leave any blanks unturned. If it's not applicable, use an NA in the blank so that the person reading the application realizes that you looked at the box. Complete a job search record and carry it with you so that you can easily remember dates and times and fill it out. Use that in your job search plan so that you can keep track and make it easier when you're filling out applications on the fly. Why don't you get interviews? Read the article. You might see something that is bothersome and is something that you're doing or is happening with your resume that's causing you not to get the interviews for the jobs. We've got some tips on interviewing as well. So take a look at all of these tips. Read the types of interviews. What are you doing to practice? What are you wearing to interviews? What do you do during an interview? What do you do after an interview? Take a look at all of these videos that we have in our playlist. Whenever you see the word playlist at the top, there's a series of videos that you can watch. And again, over on the side, you can add employer information, what the information is, where you found the job, what you put on the application when you filled out the application, and the information that you put on that application, and then what happened during the interview. What's the status? What kind of interview was it? This is a great tool to help you keep track of your job search record and when you need to follow up and do all of those reminders for you. Let's go back to the guide. And as you can see, some of this might be kind of time consuming. So you may want to do this in spurts. Do some today, do some tomorrow. If you are in job search mode, plan your day as if you had a job and use this tool as part of your schedule of activities. Let's go to achieve your goals. This is the last portion, and we've got 3 steps in here. This is after you have gotten that interview and they've offered you a job. So what do you need to do to consider whether or not you're going to take that job? It's not always about Hi, would you like this job? But it's, will you be happy there? Will it give you enough money to make it worth you going to work every day? What are your current obligations? When would you be able to start the new job? Do you have all of the documents in hand that you need to be able to provide to the employer? And then get ready for your first day. What kind of forms are they going to want you to fill out? What's the culture like at the new job? What kind of expectations will they have of you? And how will you be safe in your new job? The next step in this area is achieving your goals again. So what will you do once you get that first paycheck? Now, if you're a career changer, this might not be as important of a step as if you are just starting out into the workforce. So this is very good. And even if you've got a student around you, this might be something that you might want to review with them. Make sure that you are protecting their identity. Learn how to use a checking account and maintain records. Next, we want to find out how to determine what your financial status is. What do you need to know before you apply for a credit card? What are your emergency savings? What do you do about paying off debts? How can you save for future purchases? And then you want to create, monitor, and adjust your budget. Everybody needs a budget, whether you have it written out on paper or whether it is actually in some sort of a program like QuickBooks or uh, any of those other accounting software programs. Monitor your expenses so that you stay within your budget and learn how to balance that budget. The last step under achieving your goal is understanding some of these items that may not come up on a regular basis. Violence prevention and awareness. There are bullies everywhere, and we have a couple of articles here that you can review that will help you prevent violence at school or in the workplace. And how do you recognize what a bully is, and what can you do to prevent violence? What are you going to do to continue to build your skills? What do you need to know about soft skills? Maybe you were never part of a team before and now you need to be. What can you do with that? And how will you advance your career? What are you going to do to volunteer your time? How will you pay back? What are the benefits of volunteering? And where are volunteer opportunities in your community? Once you have reviewed all of these items, you're done. You're done with the guide. You can go back, you can review your plan, look at all of the steps associated with it, and then when you look at your job search organizer, it will show you what the parts are that you have, that you filled out during the course of this to help you create your plan. So what's your elevator speech? What companies have you been at? What's the information associated with each of those items? What was on the job description? When was the date that you did all of these different things? Next on our list is how are you going to achieve your goals? What are the notes associated with those items? And last but not least, what's your SMART plan? What have you got in your plan that you need to achieve? I want to fill out a school application so that I can go to school. I submitted it by email by the 4th of July. I found the application on the 1st of July. And then on with all of the different steps. So that's it for Employment 101. This is where we are today. It could be changing as we add new features or new articles, so always check back on a regular basis. Your plans may change as well, so you want to always be nimble with your career plans. Let's take a look now to see if we have any questions from the audience that we need to answer. Getting a job is really hard right now, and I want to make sure I check the list off of everything I need to know. I really have not seen a guide to make sure I am on track. Well, this is the answer for you. Are you on track? Use the Employment 101 to make sure that you're going through each of those steps to make sure that your plan is on track. All right. We'll see if there's any other questions from the audience. Let's go back now to our closing screen, and we will ask you if you could please fill out our poll questions here at the end to see what kind of things you have to think about this webinar today. I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. And we will be posting this recording, so if you want to watch it again, we appreciate that. If you did not already have a chance to download the files, it is in the file pod on the left-hand side of your screen. Thank you for joining us again, and I'd like to thank Chelsea for helping me man the questions.